I was getting a haircut when the barber asked if I came here alone. I'd been going to Tony's barber shop for 3 years. Same chair every month, same barber named Luis, same $10 buzz cut that took exactly 15 minutes. Luis was this quiet guy in his 50s who usually just asked about work or the weather while he worked, nothing more. But today felt completely different from the moment I walked through the door. The shop was almost empty. Just one other customer getting a shave in the corner chair, and Luis seemed nervous in a way I'd never seen before. His hands were shaking slightly as he adjusted the cape around my neck and fumbled with his scissors. "So did you drive here by yourself today?" he asked, starting up the clippers, which was a bizarre question because I always came alone, had been coming alone for 3 years, and he'd never asked before. I told him yeah, just like always, and he nodded but kept glancing toward the front window like he was watching for someone. The other customer getting the shave had his face covered with a steaming hot towel, but I noticed his shoes immediately. Expensive Italian leather dress shoes, probably $500, completely out of place in this working-class neighborhood barbershop, where most customers wore sneakers or work boots. Luis kept making forced small talk, his voice tight and unnatural like he was reading lines from a script someone had given him. He asked about my job at the warehouse, my family, whether I lived alone. All questions he'd never asked despite cutting my hair monthly for years. When I mentioned I lived by myself in the apartment complex on Oak Street, he repeated my exact address back to me to confirm. The guy in the corner chair hadn't moved once in 25 minutes, not a single fidget or position adjustment. Most people move around during hot towel treatments, shift their weight, scratch an itch, something, but he was perfectly motionless like he was pretending to be unconscious while actually listening. Luis finished the sides of my head and moved to the back, but instead of his usual efficient rhythm, he was working incredibly slowly, stretching out what should have been a 15-minute cut into nearly 40 minutes. He kept pausing to clean his clippers unnecessarily, reorganizing his tools multiple times, anything to kill time like he was stalling. That's when I noticed the mirrors. In a barbershop, you can see everything reflected at different angles, and I realized the guy getting the shave was actually watching me through the mirror the entire time. His eyes were wide open under that hot towel, staring directly at my reflection with an intensity that made my stomach drop. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, just a photo of my car in the parking lot with no message attached. I showed Luis the screen and asked if he knew anything about it, but he just shrugged and said sometimes people take pictures of nice cars in the neighborhood. Except my car wasn't nice at all. It was a beat-up Honda with dents, rust spots, and a cracked windshield. Nobody would photograph it for any legitimate reason unless they were documenting my location and vehicle for something else entirely. Luis moved to the front of my hair, working on my bangs, and I could see him clearly in the mirror now. He was sweating profusely despite the air conditioning running full blast, and his eyes kept darting to the wall clock like he was waiting for a specific time. It was 3:20, and he seemed increasingly agitated with each passing minute. The guy in the corner chair suddenly sat up and removed his towel, revealing a face I didn't recognize but somehow felt familiar, like I'd glimpsed him in my peripheral vision around town recently. He paid Luis quickly with cash, $20 for a shave that hadn't actually happened, and left without saying a word. Luis was finishing up my haircut now, but his hands were trembling so badly I was genuinely worried he'd accidentally cut me with the scissors. He kept mumbling under his breath, words I couldn't quite make out, and when I asked him to speak up, he just said he was talking to himself about nothing important. As he removed the cape from around my neck and brushed loose hair off my shoulders, he leaned close to my ear and whispered, "Your brother Danny says hello." And that's when I realized I wasn't just getting a haircut. I freeze, my entire body going rigid as Luis's words hit me like a physical blow. "Danny, my brother Danny, dead for 3 years. What did you just say?" I whisper, but Luis is already backing away, his eyes darting nervously to the door where the Italian shoesman had exited. "They know where you live?" Luis hisses, his voice barely audible. "Leave town tonight. Don't go home." He busies himself with the broom, sweeping up my hair clippings as though nothing unusual has happened. My hands are shaking as I pull out my wallet. I fumble with the bills, dropping a 20 on the counter. "Keep the change," I mutter, not waiting for him to ring me up properly. I avoid eye contact with Luis, who's still sweeping the same spot over and over, his knuckles white around the broom handle. The bell above the door jingles as I step outside into the afternoon sun. My heart is hammering against my ribs as I scan the street. Across the road, leaning against a newspaper stand, is Italian shoes guy. He's not even trying to be subtle. He looks directly at me, takes a long drag from a cigarette, and smiles, the kind of smile that makes your blood run cold. I walk to my car, fighting the urge to run. Every step feels like I'm moving through molasses. I can feel his eyes on my back the entire time. As I pull out of the parking lot, I check my rearview mirror and spot a black sedan pulling away from the curb. It keeps 3 car lengths behind me all the way to Oak Street. My phone buzzes as I'm waiting at a red light. Another text from the unknown number. This time it's a photo of me sitting in Luis's chair at Tony's. Timestamp 3:20 p.m. exactly, when Luis was glancing anxiously at the clock. The message below it reads, "Time's up." I park in my usual spot at the apartment complex, but I don't get out immediately. The black sedan cruises past, driver's face obscured behind tinted windows. I count to 60 before I exit my car, then walk briskly to my unit, checking over my shoulder every few seconds. Inside my apartment, I lock the door and slide the chain into place for all the good it will do. My mind is racing, trying to process what's happening. Danny's been dead for 3 years. Car accident, they said. But now Luis is talking about him like he's alive. or at least like he was involved in something dangerous, something that's now caught up with me. I grab a duffel bag from my closet and start throwing in essentials, clothes, toiletries, the emergency cash I keep in an old coffee can. As I pack, I scan the apartment for anything unusual. Have there been people in here? Watching me? I examine the smoke detector, the light fixtures, behind picture frames. In the bathroom, I notice something off about the mirror. The caulking around one corner looks fresher than the rest. I pry at it with my fingernail and the corner of the mirror pops loose. Behind it, nestled in a small cavity in the wall, is a tiny microphone. My stomach drops. How long has that been there? How much have they heard? I crush it under my heel, then continue searching. 2 more bugs in the living room, one in the TV remote, another behind a light switch plate. My phone buzzes again. Another text. Danny's debt is now yours. $250,000. 48 hours. Attached is a photo of my elderly parents standing in their garden, completely unaware they're being photographed. I feel sick. I need to call them, warn them, but what would I say? I don't even know who they are or what Danny was involved in. All I know is that my dead brother apparently owed someone $250,000, and now they're coming to collect from me. I finish packing, grab my keys, and head for the door. That's when I hear it, a car door closing outside. I peer through the blinds and see Italian shoes guy approaching my building. He's changed into a dark suit, but those expensive leather shoes are unmistakable. He's not alone. 2 other men flank him, bulky guys with hands tucked inside their jackets. I need to leave. Now, I grab my bag and head for the back exit, the one that leads to the service alley. My hand is on the doorknob when my phone buzzes one more time. The message contains just 2 words, too late. The explosion rocks the entire building. The force of it throws me against the wall as my windows shatter inward, showering the room with glass. My ears ring as I struggle to my feet, disoriented. Through the broken window, I can see flames engulfing what used to be my car. They just blew up my car. Smoke alarms blare throughout the building. I can hear neighbors shouting, doors opening. Soon the place will be crawling with police and firefighters. I can't be here when they arrive. I grab my bag, slip out the back exit, and disappear into the alley, leaving behind the smoldering wreckage of my old life. Whatever Danny was involved in, it's found me, and they're not playing games. I wake up to the hum of an ancient air conditioner and the flickering neon sign outside my window. For a disorienting moment, I don't know where I am. Then it all comes rushing back. Luis's warning, the explosion, my midnight escape. The Starlight Motel sits just off the interstate, the kind of place that takes cash and doesn't ask questions. I paid for 3 nights up front, using a fake name. The room smells like cigarettes and cheap cleaner, but it's safe, for now. My phone, my real one, is turned off and dismantled. Battery removed. The burner phone I picked up at a 24-hour convenience store sits on the nightstand. I've only used it once, to check my bank account. The balance is pathetic, nowhere near the $250,000 these people want. I open my laptop and start searching. The outfit criminal organization. The results make my blood run cold. Chicago-based syndicate, decades of operations, specializing in everything from loan sharking to money laundering. Several articles mention their brutal enforcement methods. I type Danny Mitchell criminal connections and find nothing useful. My brother was always private, especially in the years before his death. Now I understand why. At 9:30 a.m., I call my warehouse boss. Henderson. He barks into the phone. It's me, I say, trying to keep my voice steady. I need some emergency leave. Family situation. There's a pause. Everything okay? No, I answer honestly. My parents, they're not well. I need a week, maybe 2. Another pause. Take what you need. Job will be here when you get back. I thank him and hang up, feeling guilty for the lie. My parents are perfectly healthy, as far as I know, or at least they were yesterday. The burner phone buzzes, a text with an attachment. My heart sinks as I open it, a crystal clear photo of my parents' house, taken this morning judging by the angle of sunlight. The message reads, they seem nice, would be a shame if something happened to them. I'm out the door in seconds, throwing my few belongings into the duffel bag. The rental car I picked up last night, also paid for in cash, starts with a reluctant growl. I punch my parents' address into the GPS even though I know the route by heart. The 2-hour drive to their suburban home feels like an eternity. I keep checking the rearview mirror, looking for black sedans or men in Italian leather shoes. The radio stays off, I need to think. When I finally pull into their driveway, Mom opens the front door before I even cut the engine. Her face is a mixture of surprise and concern. What are you doing here? She asks as I rush past her into the house. We weren't expecting you until Sunday dinner. Dad looks up from his newspaper in the living room. Son, everything all right? I close all the blinds before answering. No, nothing's all right. I need to know about Danny. Their faces change instantly. Mom's hand flies to her throat. Dad sets down his paper with deliberate slowness. What about Danny? Dad asks carefully. The truth, I say, showing them the threatening text on my burner phone. All of it, because apparently his problems are now my problems. They exchange a long look, the kind married couple's perfect after decades together. Finally, Mom sits down heavily on the sofa. Danny wasn't your biological brother, she says quietly. The words hit me like a physical blow. What? Dad takes over. We adopted him when he was 16. He was in witness protection. We weren't supposed to tell anyone, not even you. Witness protection? I repeat stupidly. For what? He testified against the outfit when he was 15. Mom explains. His real parents were killed. The FBI placed him with us because we lived far from Chicago and had a clean record. My head spins. So my brother, the person I grew up with, was living under an assumed identity, and you never told me? We couldn't, Dad says firmly. It was for your protection as much as his. Mom gets up suddenly. There's something you should see. She disappears into the hallway and returns with a sealed envelope. Danny left this with us 3 years ago, right before the accident. He said if anything strange ever happened to you, we should give you this. The envelope is thick, sealed with packing tape. My name is written across the front in Danny's familiar handwriting. I'm about to open it when my burner phone rings. Unknown number. Hello? I answer cautiously. It's Luis, says the familiar voice of the barber. Don't talk. Just listen. I was Danny's handler, FBI. Those men at your apartment weren't just sending a message, they were trying to kill you. You need to get out of there now. A crash from the front of the house cuts him off. Glass shatters. Mom screams. They're already there, Luis finishes grimly. I drop the phone, grab the envelope in my parents' hands, and pull them toward the back door. We need to go, now! We make it to the garage just as heavy footsteps enter the house. Dad fumbles with his car keys while Mom trembles beside him. I stuff Danny's envelope into my jacket as we pile into their sedan. The garage door opens painfully slowly. Through the rearview mirror, I see a man in a suit step into the garage. Even from this distance, I recognize those Italian leather shoes. Dad floors it, and we scrape past the barely open garage door with inches to spare. As we speed away, I catch a glimpse of the man's face in the side mirror. Cold, calculated, professional. My burner phone buzzes with a text from Luis. Vincent Caruso, outfit enforcer. Killed 14 people. Don't stop driving. I look back at my childhood home growing smaller in the distance, wondering if I'll ever see it again. Whatever Danny left in this envelope, it better be worth it. Because Vincent Caruso doesn't look like a man who gives up easily. Luis's safe house is a dilapidated cabin 30 miles outside the city limits. The floorboards creak under my weight as I pace back and forth, occasionally glancing through the dusty windows for any sign of movement. It's been 6 hours since we escaped my parents' house, leaving them at my aunt's place 2 counties over. Would you sit down? You're making me nervous, Luis says, spreading the contents of Danny's envelope across a rickety kitchen table. His FBI badge glints in the dim light from the single overhead bulb. I'm making you nervous? I laugh bitterly. My car was blown up, my apartment is compromised, and a professional killer is after me because of a brother who apparently wasn't even my real brother. Luis sighs, rubbing his temples. Danny was your brother in every way that mattered. He loved you. That's why he left this insurance policy. I finally sit down across from him, examining the documents. Photos of men in expensive suits exchanging briefcases, ledgers with columns of numbers, USB drives, and a handwritten letter addressed to me. Danny was one of our best undercover operatives, Luis explains as I unfold the letter. 3 years ago, he infiltrated the outfit's money laundering operation. He was getting close to the top, gathering evidence for a RICO case that would have taken down their entire organization. I scan Danny's familiar handwriting, my throat tightening at his words. If you're reading this, I'm dead. I'm sorry for the secrets. I'm sorry for what's coming. What happened to him? I ask, looking up from the letter. Car accident, Luis says, his face darkening. At least, that's what it was made to look like. His brakes were cut. We couldn't prove it was the outfit, but we knew. I set down the letter. And what does this have to do with me? Or my warehouse job? Luis pulls out a series of photographs. Your warehouse is their primary laundering facility. Look at these shipping manifests. The outfit moves cash through legitimate businesses, hiding it in plain sight. Your company processes millions in dirty money every month. My stomach drops as I recognize the shipping numbers. Henderson, I whisper. My boss. He's involved? Luis nods grimly. Up to his eyeballs. Danny was building a case against him when he trails off. When they killed him, I finish. But why come after me now, 3 years later? Because of this, Luis slides a final document across the table, a bank transfer receipt for $250,000. Danny didn't just gather evidence. He took insurance. Skimmed $250,000 from their operation before he died. They've been looking for it ever since. And they think I have it. I realize, but I don't. The window shatters before I can finish. Glass sprays across the room as Luis dives over the table, tackling me to the floor. Gunshots pepper the cabin walls. Back door, Luis shouts, drawing his service weapon. Take the evidence and run. I scramble to gather the documents, stuffing them into my jacket as Luis returns fire through the broken window. I hear a pained grunt as one of his shots finds its mark, but it doesn't stop the assault. The back door leads to a small clearing and dense woods beyond. I hesitate at the threshold, looking back at Luis. Go, he yells, just as the front door splinters inward. Vincent Caruso steps through the opening, his Italian leather shoes incongruous against the rustic cabin floor. He fires twice, and Luis crumples, blood blooming across his shirt. I run. The forest swallows me as bullets thud into trees around me. I don't stop until my lungs burn and my legs threaten to give out. When I finally pause, leaning against a massive oak, I realize Luis's blood is on my hands, literally and figuratively. My burner phone still works. I call the number Luis gave me for his FBI supervisor. This is Director Keene, answers a gruff voice. My name is I start. I know who you are, he interrupts. Luis called me earlier. Where is he? Shot, maybe dead. The outfit found us. Vincent Caruso. Stop talking, Keene cuts me off. This line isn't secure. Where are you now? I describe my location as best I can. Stay there. I'll send a team. Thank you, I say, relief washing over me. I have all the evidence Danny gathered. The money laundering through my warehouse, everything. There's a long pause, too long. No team is coming, is it? I ask quietly. Listen to me carefully, Keene says, his voice different now. The Bureau has no official interest in this matter. Luis was operating outside protocol. Whatever evidence you think you have is circumstantial at best. But turn yourself in to local authorities. Surrender any materials in your possession. That's my official advice. The call ends. I stare at the phone, the truth dawning on me. The corruption goes higher than the outfit. It reaches into the FBI itself. I'm on my own. By morning, I've formulated a plan. It's desperate and dangerous, but it's all I have. I call Henderson at the warehouse. I need to come in tonight, I tell him, to pick up some personal items from my locker. Sure thing, he says, too quickly. I'll be here late anyway. Around 9? Perfect, I reply, knowing he's already calling Vincent. The warehouse is nearly empty when I arrive. Henderson meets me at the loading dock, his smile not reaching his eyes. Rough few days? He asks, noting my disheveled appearance. You could say that, I answer, following him inside. The trap is obvious, too obvious, but that's counting on Vincent's arrogance and Henderson's greed. I'm halfway to my locker when Vincent steps out from between two shipping containers, gun leveled at my chest. Where's the money? He asks without preamble. I raise my hand slowly. Not here, but I can take you to it. Vincent's smile is cold. You're not in a position to negotiate. I'm the only one who knows where Danny hid the $250,000. I bluff, kill me, and it stays hidden forever. Henderson appears behind Vincent, eyes darting nervously. Let's be reasonable. Take him to the office. The office is actually a small room in the back of the warehouse where Henderson conducts his shadier business. As they march me inside, I notice a third man waiting older, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than I make in a month. Mr. Castellano, Henderson says deferentially. He says he knows where the money is. Castellano, the name from Danny's files, the head of the outfit's Chicago operation. So, Castellano says, studying me with cold eyes, you're Danny's brother. The family resemblance is there, especially around the eyes. Same defiant look he had before his unfortunate accident. You killed him, I say flatly. Castellano shrugs. Your brother stole from me. $250,000 is a small sum in the grand scheme, but the principle matters. No one steals from the outfit without consequences, and now you think I have it. Don't you? His eyebrow raises slightly. Danny was clever. Who better to entrust his insurance policy to than his beloved brother? I take a deep breath. I don't have your money, but I have something more valuable. My hand moves slowly to my pocket. Vincent tenses, but Castellano waves him off. I pull out my phone and set it on the desk between us. What's this? Castellano asks. Insurance, I reply. I've been recording this entire conversation and transmitting it to multiple secure locations, along with all of Danny's evidence about your operation. The money laundering through this warehouse. The bribes to FBI Director Keene. Everything. Henderson's face goes pale. Vincent's hand tightens on his gun. You're bluffing, Castellano says, but there's a flicker of uncertainty in his eyes. I smile for the first time in days. Am I? Danny taught me to always have a backup plan. You killed my brother. Did you really think I'd walk in here without protection? The silence in the room is deafening. My heart pounds so loudly I'm sure they can hear it, but I keep my expression confident, challenging. Castellano stares at me for what feels like an eternity before his lips curl into something between a sneer and a smile. Your brother would be proud, he says finally. You have more spine than I gave you credit for. He nods to Vincent, who raises his gun. This is it, I think. I've miscalculated. Then the warehouse doors burst open, and the world descends into chaos. The explosion of gunfire and shouting fills the warehouse as FBI agents storm through every entrance. Vincent ducks behind a shipping container, firing blindly toward the commotion. Castellano's face contorts with rage as he lunges across the desk for me, but I'm already moving, rolling to the side as Henderson panics and makes a break for the back exit. FBI, freeze, hands where we can see them. The commands echo throughout the warehouse as agents in tactical gear sweep through the building. I stay low, crawling behind a stack of pallets as bullets ricochet off metal shelving. Through the chaos, I spot Vincent making his way toward a side door, moving with the practiced efficiency of someone who's escaped tight situations before. Without thinking, I launch myself at his legs, tackling him to the concrete floor. His gun skitters away as we grapple, his Italian leather shoes scuffing against the rough surface. You're dead, he hisses, landing a solid punch to my ribs that leaves me gasping. He reaches for something in his ankle holster, a backup weapon, but before he can draw it, two agents descend on us, weapons trained. Federal agents, don't move! Vincent goes still, his cold eyes locked on mine with a promise of future retribution. As they cuff him, I slump against a nearby shelf, the adrenaline draining from my system. The raid is over in minutes. Castellano, Vincent, Henderson, and a dozen other outfit members are led away in handcuffs. An agent I don't recognize approaches me, offering a hand up. Nice tackle, she says. Agent Reyes, you must be Danny's brother. How did you know to come? I ask, wincing as I stand. My ribs throb where Vincent landed his punch. Luis, she answers. He managed to call for backup before they got to him. He's in surgery now, but doctors say he'll pull through. Relief washes over me. And Director Keene? Her expression hardens. Being questioned as we speak, your recording was the final piece we needed to prove his connection to the outfit. We've been investigating corruption within the Bureau for months, but couldn't move without solid evidence. 2 days later, I sit beside Luis's hospital bed. His face is pale, but he's awake, his eyes clear as he explains everything. Danny knew the outfit had people inside the FBI, he says, his voice weak but steady. That's why he created a backup plan. He chose you. Me? Why me? I'm not law enforcement. I'm just a warehouse worker. Luis smiles faintly. You were the one person he trusted completely. Someone the outfit wouldn't suspect. He knew if anything happened to him, you'd be smart enough to figure it out. Not smart enough, I reply. I almost got us both killed. But you didn't, Luis counters. You brought down the outfit and exposed corruption that went all the way to the top of the bureau. Danny would be proud. I'm silent for a moment, processing everything. Henderson was watching me the whole time, wasn't he? At the warehouse? Luis nods. 3 years, waiting to see if you knew anything about the missing money. When Vincent started applying pressure, Henderson saw an opportunity to prove his loyalty to the outfit. The betrayal stings more than I expected. 3 years of friendly conversations, of Henderson asking about my weekend plans, of him remembering my birthday with a card signed by the whole staff, all while waiting for the right moment to hand me over to killers. A week later, I'm sitting across from Agent Reyes in a federal building downtown. The room is sparse, just a table, a few chairs, and a window overlooking the city. We've recovered most of the outfit's assets, she explains, including the money Danny took. It was in an offshore account registered to a shell corporation. The password was your mother's maiden name. So what happens now? I ask. Castellano, Vincent, and most of the higher-ups are looking at life sentences. Henderson is cooperating, trying to reduce his sentence. She slides a folder across the table. As for you, we're offering witness protection. New identity, new location, fresh start. I open the folder. Inside are documents for a new life in Seattle driver's license, social security card, apartment lease, even a job offer at a shipping company. You don't have to decide right now, she says, but I strongly recommend it. The outfit has a long memory and an even longer reach. Some of them will eventually get out, and they won't forget what you did. I think about my apartment on Oak Street, now uninhabitable after the explosion. About my warehouse job, tainted by Henderson's betrayal. About my parents, who've already agreed to relocate for their safety. There's nothing left for me here. When do I leave? I ask. Before departing, I make one last stop at Tony's barbershop. The bell jingles as I push open the door. Luis is back at work, moving a bit slower than before, but his hands are steady as he finishes up with a customer. Just a trim today? He asks when it's my turn, as if nothing extraordinary has happened between us. The usual, I reply, settling into his chair. $10 buzz cut. As he works, we talk quietly about my imminent departure. No specifics, the walls still have ears, but enough for him to understand. I have something for you, Luis says when he's finished. He disappears into the back room and returns with a small box. Danny's personal effects. The FBI released them to me, but they belong with you. Inside the box is a watch, a set of keys to places that no longer exist, and a worn photograph of Danny and me as teenagers, arms slung around each other's shoulders, grinning at the camera. He was my brother, I say firmly. Maybe not by blood, but in every way that matters. Luis nods, understanding. Family is more than DNA. I pay for my haircut $20 this time, leaving Luis a decent tip and walk out of Tony's for the last time. Seattle is exactly what I need, rainy, anonymous, far from the shadows of my old life. My new apartment is small but clean, with a view of Puget Sound on clear days. My job at the shipping company is straightforward, honest work with people who know nothing about my past. 6 months pass. I'm starting to feel normal again, or at least a new version of normal. I come home one evening to find a package outside my door. No return address, no shipping label, just a plain brown box sealed with packing tape. Inside is a pair of Italian leather shoes, exactly my size. Underneath them, a handwritten note. Some debts can never be paid. Watch your back. My phone buzzes with a text from an unknown number. The message contains only a timestamp, 3:20. I close the blinds and check that my doors and windows are locked. Then I call the emergency number Agent Reyes gave me. As it rings, I stare at the shoes, wondering how long I'll be looking over my shoulder. Danny's debt may be paid, but mine is just beginning.